I'm recording. Okay. All right, great. So I will make sure that we're recording. I want to make sure that we're over on Facebook with no problem. All right. So we have some amazing women that you are going to hear from tonight. I am so honored that they accepted to come on here. And I made it my mission to make sure that I had topics that we can discuss that I knew that everybody would be able to relate to. But in addition to them relating to it, I knew that these women would be able to pour into us because of these topics that we're going to be talking about. So first up, we have none other. Let me make sure she's on here. Yes, she's here. We have none other than Miss Simone Simmons. Of course, she is over Credit, Power, Respect. She is a boss in her own right. She resides from Kentucky. I always like to pick on her because I love to hear her talk. She has that country Kentucky twang, but guess what? She knows how to deliver the information. She can tell you about story after story after story about having to be resilient. So was all of our other ladies on here tonight. And then we have, to make sure she's on here, I see Dr. Monet. She is a boss in her own right as well. When I say going for nothing to going out here killing it, working with celebrities, dealing with taxes. And what I can definitely say about her is that for me, a lot of times when you see people go to these different levels in life and they start to work with celebrities, you kind of see like a shift in them and how they are. Not saying that she hasn't grown, because she has to grow. I mean, how do you think she's a boss? But what I like about her is that when you hear her talk, she's her natural self. Like, she's not faking it. You know, she also has her little country twang from Georgia, and I love that as well. Because, you know, you meet some people and it's just like they seem like their persona, how they communicate. It's just like, are you really being yourself? And Dr. Monet gives it to you 100% herself. And I absolutely love that. And then next we have Ashley Dorsey, who is, when I say a survivor. We heard her story this weekend, and she went a little bit deeper into her story for everybody to hear. And when I say resilient, she's, she can persevere, like she's all the above. And then she shared her gift of spoken word. So we've all heard her speak, and she has this power behind her voice. But when she shared the spoken word, and the crazy thing is she went off the dome. So if you know anything about that, it's like a freestyle. So she got there. We're thinking that she's bringing us her spoken word, that she scripted and she wrote it out. No, she went straight freestyle, and everybody was like, and then she hit us with, now let me tell you what I wrote. So, I mean, Ashley Dorsey is such an amazing woman. And again, I think I have said it on every single one of these. All these ladies can tell you stories, and you would think that it came out of a movie. Like, it's crazy, like the things that these women have went through and they have been able to go through and overcome. And then next up, we have Miss Keisha Palmer, who had us all in tears, but it was like needed. And the way she delivered how she has been faced with life's challenges, and probably a challenge that any parent like dreads to even possibly think about. She was faced with this, and being able to use that pain for purpose and be able to continue to pour into people and continue to move forward with the positive mindset. Not saying that it was hard and she never had a negative thought, but what I'm saying is she realized that it was greater than what she was going through. And just hearing her story, how she, changed her thought process through this whole thing, and is now out here killing it as well. Like, it's just an amazing, and I'm so blessed and honored that these women are going to be joining us on here tonight. So let me step out of the way, and I'm going to talk to you how I see you on my screen. And I see Ashley Dorsey first. So Ashley, I'm going to ask you, and then I see Dr. Monet, and then I see Keisha, and then I see Simone. So we're going that order. Ashley, Dr. Monet, Keisha, Simone. So the first thing that I have for you ladies is I want you to tell me, share, you don't have to give the whole story, but if you can share with us a moment that you were faced with in your life that you had to be resilient. And I know everybody is asking me, well, you just did a call over perseverance. Like, aren't they the same thing? They're actually not the same thing. And I know for me, I used to think that they kind of were like the same thing, but they're like sisters. And I like to, when I looked it up and realized that they are not the same, perseverance, which we talked about last time, that is basically the act of continuing on until you get to where you want to get or get through that situation. That's the act. The perseverance is the act. The resilience, and the definition says that it's the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. But the thing about the resilience aspect of it is the resilience is the mindset part of it. Resilience is the process that you have to go through mentally to be able to maintain your focus, to be able to work through and adapt and recover. So I would say perseverance is the action and resilience is the mindset, because resilience is so important because you have to be able to take the emotional pain of what you're going through and also keep your mind in a positive space to be able to see through all of that fog. And so, and if you can kind of think about it, you would think about, all right, I am faced with some type of challenge, and this challenge that I am faced with, I have to make a decision or a choice. That's first. Then I have to be resilient through this process. And it's foggy, it's a whole bunch of emotions, it's mumbo jumbo. It is just like, you feel like, oh, hell is breaking loose. You feel like things are coming left and right. So I would say resilience is the part before you begin to persevere, which is the action. Because you can't move forward with action without making sure you got a plan up here. Like you got to have a plan in your head. And the resilience part, I feel, is the mental plan that you have. So the question I have for you is, what is a situation or something that you've been through where you have had to stop, check yourself mentally so that you can be resilient through the process? Like, is there a situation that you can briefly share with us that you had that experience with? And again, I'll start with Ashley, you're first.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCainbury. I did miss you ladies so much. So this is right on time and perfect. So just keeping it in brief. So being a lupus survivor, I was diagnosed at a very young age, and I have really good days and I have really bad days. Well, I've had some really bad years as well. I can recall back in 2010, I went into the hospital for, let's just say, a simple gallbladder. I didn't walk out the hospital. It took me 1.5 years of my life to regain and relearn how to walk, right? If that was in 2010, well, it happened again in 2021. In 2021, this is 2023. So in 2021, I was back in the hospital again, kidneys shutting down. And I was having, again, issues with my feet being able to walk. And I remember this most recent time laying there and I'm like, Lord, last time I was trusting the doctors. Last time I was leaning on to my own understanding. Lord, I trust you this time. And I want to know what it is that I need to do so that I can walk out of here sooner and faster than I did the last time. And it was one of those things that my mindset had to be on point. I had to trust God with my whole heart. So by the time the doctor came in there and said, well, man, we don't know what's wrong, we can't figure it out, I said, send me home. Now, even being a single mother of 3, I knew I was going home to an empty house. And at the time, I didn't have fully my support system together. I said, send me home. And in those 7 days of being at home, still having to deal with inflammation in my feet, still having to trust my body and trust myself in those moments, within 7 days, God was able to allow me to not just be resilient, but to persevere and to be running them laps after that 7 days.
Did you say running laps after?
Glory to God.
Wow. So this is one of the reasons why I do this. And I wanted to share this with you, actually, before I move on to Dr. Monet. Shakayla Ball, and I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. I know how it feels to have your name pronounced wrong. But Shakayla Ball said, I'm a lupus survivor and I needed to be here to hear you. So you never know who needs to hear your stories. And I can only imagine what, strength you probably gave her through just sharing that little part of your story. So you never know. So I just wanted to share that with you. All right, Dr. Monet, what about you?
So to briefly tell my story, of course, I was a housewife and my family passed away when I was younger. My mom died, my dad died, my mother-in-law died, my mom died 5 days apart. And then my husband went to prison. And so I had this amazing life, like finances wasn't an issue or anything. My husband was the head of the household. He took care of everything. And when he went away, I had to become the head of the household. Well, I didn't have any resources, no money, no job, no education, no nothing. And I remember my very first major resilient moment was literally sitting in the drive-through of McDonald's with my 3 children sitting in the car, literally $5 to my name. We went from having hundreds of thousands of dollars to literally, when he went to prison, I was left with nothing. And I had $5 to my name. And I remember having to feed 4 of us with $5. And luckily, you know, McDonald's had the dollar menu. And so I was just trying to figure out how to feed them without them seeing the pain and the agony and everything that I was dealing with. And so I remember saying, yeah, we're gonna get 3 cheeseburgers and we're gonna get a fry. And I use my resilience to teach my children to share. I was like, we're gonna share this fry, y'all. We're gonna share this French fries. And they was like, what about you, Mom? I said, Mommy not gonna eat. Mommy on a diet, but I'm gonna make sure we're gonna make sure that y'all eat and y'all gonna share. And so even though I was going through pain and didn't know what to do, I mean, I had to be resilient and make it to something positive. I couldn't let them see what I was going through. And they never understood. They never knew. They didn't experience what I had to experience because I was their protector. So I had to be resilient enough to take my pain and then turn it to purpose and still strengthen my children through what I was going through. So that was one of my biggest resilient moments, was sitting there having to feed them with $5 and making something positive out of it.
I can imagine like sitting in that car, and if your mind, I mean, I know it was hard, but I couldn't imagine like if you didn't make the choice to shift your mindset, like you all would probably be sitting in the car crying. You probably couldn't figure out I mean, it's a dollar menu, cool, but if you didn't have the right mind, you probably couldn't even figure out, okay, well, let me get 3 cheeseburgers. You're probably sitting there trying to figure out how to make it work. And so and I like that you shared that, because for some people, they may say, well, it's just a meal. But for some people, it's like my life depended on that meal. My kids were watching me and they were dependent on seeing mommy have the right mindset. People in the comments are saying, been there, hashtag that's hard. Yeah, so they're resonating with that. And over here in the comments, everybody's like, amen, my God, you know, so they are feeling you, because I know, you know, people on an everyday basis are struggling with these hard decisions and they're feeling like, okay, well, it's such a small decision. Why am I struggling with it? But you never know how that small decision, who's watching you. And now you turn that into saying, let's share with your brothers and sisters, you know, your siblings. And now that just thank you, because I love that. So now we have actually not being able to walk. And then now you have your kids that you're having to provide for, that everything is taken from you. Everything is stripped from you, parents, your spouse, and you literally go from money never being an issue to now you have to feed your family on $5.
Right.
So if that's not trying to have a resilient mindset, I don't know what is.
Right.
So Keisha, what about you? What can you share with us?
When you talk about resilience, you know, you're definitely talking about bouncing back from a lot of pain. And, you know, when my son was taken away from me, you know, prior to that, my grandmother was taken from me as well. But when he was taken away, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of anger at the same time. There was a lot of hurt. But I had to turn it into something positive, because I had to, you know, look at other people. You know what, maybe like someone was saying, you know, at the Women That Win conference, this is not happening, you know, to you to just sulk in it. It's happening for you to go out there and help someone else. Because had I not kept going, had I not been resilient, I wouldn't have been able to help these other mothers that are going through it. You know, again, like I said, I could have lost my mind. I could have given up. I could have went into a rage. I could have went after the people that, you know, took my son's life and took the law into my own hands. But instead, I turned something negative into a positive and really found my purpose in life. And that is to definitely help other women get through this and let them know that life is going to happen, but you got to keep going. You got to keep going, because you never know who needs you. You got people out there that are waiting on you, that you haven't even met yet, that are looking for you, that you haven't even met yet. So I look at it as an assignment, to be honest with you. As long as I can help one person in this life, I'll feel good about myself. I'll say job well done, because no longer do I have to worry about him. I know he's in a good place, and I know that he's looking down on me. So every day I get up with purpose, because I think about, who can I help today? Who can I help start a business? Who can I love on? Who can I pour into? That's my purpose in life. So I turn something negative into a positive, and that's how I became very resilient.
You gave me chills when you said every day you get up with a purpose. Like that gave me chills. But before I go over here to the comments, I just wanted, you said something, and I just wanted to tell you, Keisha, job well done. Job well done. And some of these testimonials that I read through, your name came up a lot about how they may not have lost a kid, but just how you were able to take that pain and use it for purpose. They were saying, like, Keisha's story showed me that my pain can be purposeful, you know, because I'm dwelling in anger. And so, job well done. People in the comments are saying, well done, sis. Amen. Yes. Comments, job well done. Keisha, look, job well done. Absolutely. And, you know, they also said, one lady on here, I don't know, I'm trying to find a comment, but they were just saying that, here it is, Kay Nicole says, be the beacon of light for others, even when the darkness is around you. Absolutely. So thank you. And I'm going to come back to you on our next question. I'm going to shift my questions around, because you said something that's going to lead me to the next question that I have. So I'm going to come back to you first on the next one. Simone, can you share a time where you had to have the mindset shift to be resilient?
Yes. So me being the only child, the first time I had to really deal with death close was when I lost my mother. And so being the only child, having to plan the funeral, having to do everything on my own, going from never even having my own apartment to being thrown into home ownership, not by choice. It was just a lot. You know, like I said, never having my own place, losing my mother to the next month, I got a mortgage payment due. You know, so and at that I moved into a house that all my friends are getting brand new houses. I'm taking over my grandmother's house, which was, you know, you can imagine back in the day, your grandmother's house, the pink carpet, the wood cabinets. But I felt it was my obligation to try to keep that house and that property in my family, because it was paid off at one time. But my mother took all the equity out to take care of herself while she was fighting cancer. So, but again, that just to throw that in there, because we are a financial enhancement company, you guys. You see what asset a home can be. Luckily, my family did have a home for my mother to be able to take equity out of, to take care of herself while she did have cancer. But that was the time that I had to be resilient. And then a few years later, still, a lot of people are like, my parents were never together. So at least not, I didn't never see them together. So a lot of people are like, are the only child on one side. Well, I was the only child on both sides of my mother and my father's side. Yeah, true only child. So a few years later, I had to do the same thing and take care of the arrangements to put my father to rest. So we talked about at Women to Win that going through things alone gives you strength, and it gives you knowledge, and you learn how to do things. And in this economy, I mean, I've had people, because I've had to go through that, I've had to be resilient through that. I've had people reach out to me that have lost their parents, that don't know what to do. They don't know how to plan a funeral. They don't know where to start. And at this day and age, if you know how to do something that other people don't know how to do, you're going to learn from the pain, but you can also in this day and age monetize your pain. You know, if you know how to do something that other people don't know how to do, you can literally monetize your pain. But resilience to me isn't always being strong. Resilience isn't always making the right choices, doing things the right way. Resilience is a lot of times just coming out the other end of the storm. You might come out looking soaking wet like a dog, or you might come out standing tall. But resilience is just coming out of the storm. Resilience is just coming out of the situation in your right mind and in good health. That's resilience to me.
I think you painted the picture very clear when people can like listen to what you said. You went from having a mother to now having to be a homeowner and figure out how to put your mom to rest all by yourself. And then you had to do it again. And then you ended by saying people reached out to you because they didn't know what to do. That kind of goes back exactly to what Dr. Monet and Keisha and also Ashley was saying about these things we go through. They're not just for you. Like you went through hell trying to, go. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's inevitable, but you wouldn't wish it on anybody. But you going through that, now you're able to help people, but at the same time, you're able to feel and understand what they're going through. And that compassion is a lot different because, I've had to help with different people in my family, passing away, but I couldn't understand what somebody is going through who have just lost their parent, so that allows you to connect with them a little bit better. And I just couldn't imagine like having to go from that, have your life turned all the way upside down and having to immediately shift your mind to be able to now say, okay, I got to be able to not only take over this house, but keep it in my family because it's my grandmother's. Now you got to go redo everything. So that's a lot, like all at one time, and being able to shift your mind. Oh my God, I commend you.
Let's talk about going through the first winter in the home with no heat, furnace went out. Never
After
been.
You got the house?
Yeah, the very next winter after my mother passed away. So I literally for a whole winter went through having a heater in my bedroom, put a heater in the bathroom, and go take my shower, go back to the bedroom. Those were the only areas of the house that had heat. Because I didn't know anything about being a homeowner. I didn't have a emergency savings account to buy a new furnace or homeowners protection. So getting thrown into home ownership unprepared was a experience, to say the least.
I can only imagine. Like you got people over here saying facts. Yes, they give you the heart, the little care thing. Some people saying somebody said, yeah, you have to survive. You drop some gems. So being the only child, we have to take on so much. So there are people resonating with you. Somebody said they've been in this situation before. Like I couldn't imagine. So you and Keisha kind of, you didn't say the word, but it's kind of understood. So I'm gonna take it back to Keisha first. But so I kind of had my questions, but I'm gonna go out of order. The question I have for you is having to be resilient and having that mindset shift. Can you give 2 skills that you use that people listening can understand and maybe use for themselves when you are faced with challenges that hurt, that anger you? Because I know we've all experienced something that has caused us to just be just angry beyond words, hurt beyond words, broken beyond words. So when you are faced with these different challenges or frustrations or even negativity from other people and situations from other people, when it like you have every emotion under the sun, like you said, you could have been angry. I mean, I'm pretty sure you were angry because they took it from you, but you didn't allow that to stop you. And I know that there's sometimes when we are having situations and we sit in those feelings and it's like we can't break out of it. So can you give 2 skills or strategies that you use when you are faced with those situations, when you have all the emotions coming, anger, frustrations, you feel broken, you feel defeated, you feel like I can't make it through. What are two things that you did in those situations?
Two things. Learn to have emotional intelligence. Because at the end of the day, you can't take back what you say and how you react to things. So having emotional intelligence definitely is key. And just having patience. But for the most part, for me, was having emotional intelligence, because a lot of times people will act out just because of how they're feeling. And you have to sometimes put your feelings aside in order to get through, because again, you can't take it back. You can't take back your actions. You can't take back your words. So you have to be careful what you say and what you do, because it can hurt you in the long run, to be honest with you. So definitely having emotional intelligence and having patience.
So, and I think those are two huge ones. But in the midst of having patience and tapping into your emotional intelligence, and we kind of touched on it this weekend, and of course, people who weren't there, can you let those listening in know, is it okay to still feel angry?
It's okay. You're human. You're gonna feel angry. If you're not angry, then something's wrong, to be honest with you. You're human. It's okay to feel that way. And sometimes it's okay to sit in it. Like I'm sorry, she was amazing.
Dr. Faye?
Yes. Like she said, it's okay to sit in it. It's okay to sit in your sadness. So it's okay to sit in your anger at times. It's okay. As long as you don't hurt anyone, it's okay to sit in it, because you have to go through to get through.
You have to go through to get through. I love that. And I asked you that question because I know somebody that's listening in or that's going to catch the replay, somebody is going through something traumatic, or and in today's world, like you're seeing stuff on TV left and right, or reading about it in newspaper or hearing on the radio of just senseless killing going on in the world. And so when you share with us about your son, I know somebody's going to resonate with that, and hearing you say, yeah, I was angry, and it's okay to sit in it, but you have to be smart with that anger. You have to be able to understand how to control it. I think that was something major that somebody needed to hear. Thank you for sharing that. Simone, what about you? What are two things or one thing, skill that you can share when you're faced with those times when like you have all the emotions, and what did you do to be able to say, okay, I'm going to control it by doing this?
So to piggyback off Keisha, definitely what Dr. Faye said, it's okay sometimes to just sit in where you are, long as you get up, long as there's a time to get up. It's okay to sit there, just as long as you get your butt up at some point. But in saying that, I would say when I went through those situations, sometimes your body the human body is amazing. Your body will protect you from yourself. So although it's not a good place to be in, and can sometimes be a dangerous place to be in if you don't know how you feel, because you don't know how you feel or how you feel about others. But in that time, for a while, I was just felt like I didn't have any feelings. I was numb. But that was my body protecting me from the situation, because I still had to, like I said, I just jumped into home ownership, had to figure out, when my father died, I took over his business. So he died in April. If anybody knows anything about the Kentucky Derby, we had concerts and major events lined up for May. 3 and 4 events a night, major events. And now the whole company's on my back. So sometimes your body, like I said, the body's amazing, it'll protect you from itself. So at that time, I felt like I couldn't feel anything. But when you don't have any tools, the tool you always have is prayer. And so that was the tool that I had, because even when I didn't know what I needed, I didn't know what to ask for. My prayer is God knows. God knows when you need what you need, when you don't know what you need. So that is the tool I had. And I was just told recently, your purpose is always greater than your fall. So that was my tool, prayer. And what got me through it was my purpose. It wasn't anything within me. I didn't have any motivation or support. It was just my prayer and what was already within me.
I think that last statement, not saying anything else you didn't say. I mean, get up, gotta have prayer. But I think that last statement that you said, your purpose is always greater than your fall. I think that within itself was just powerful. Wow. Like over here in the comments, Alicia Gowen said she feels you. She was known when her sister died. You're spot on. You have people giving you the prayer hands. And I think that if there's nothing else that you write from this live up until this point, your purpose is always greater than your fall. I think that was very, very, very profound. I wrote it down immediately. Thank you. Dr. Monet, what about you? Give me something that you use when you're going through these difficult times and you're having all the emotions and anger and you feel like, your world is crashing down. Like what is it that you did or that you used to help you shift your mind to be resilient?
Well, 2 things I used. One was definitely courage. I grew up, even though my mom didn't pass until I was in my late 20s. My father raised me. He was a single father that raised 4 girls, and he was 6'9". And so it made me very courageous being raised by, such a huge man. And I'm the baby of the family. So I had all these older sisters and stuff. And the thing about it, he taught me to be very courageous, so like even at a young age, like I never feared a lot because I had this strong toughness as a girl being raised by a man. But secondly, emotional intelligence. Like I had to master emotional intelligence because I know for every action, there's a reaction, and I had to learn that. So I always use emotional intelligence for everything. I mean, I've studied emotional intelligence. I've read emotional intelligence 1.0, 2.0. But I will say this, after going to the conference this weekend, I even have a different outlook on emotional intelligence because I mastered it so well until I became almost emotionless. And so going to the conference with Dr. Faye telling us that it's okay to sit in these emotions. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be angry, and just learning that from a therapist and stuff, like it was a game changer for me because now it took me back to the beginning for a lot of things that I've been through that I never grieved my parents. I never grieved a lot of things that I went through because I was taught to be courageous and to be emotionless. And so now I had to go back to things that I've been through and revisit it and bring closure to it. So yeah, so emotional intelligence and courage. But like I said, now I even have a different outlook on that. Like you can only have so much emotional intelligence, but in the end of the day, you're still gonna have to face those emotions.
And it's so funny that you say that because speaking with her, that was one of the things that we talked about was it's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel hurt because we are taught like, oh no, you shouldn't be, and you shouldn't. Okay, you're angry, get over it, move on. And we are taught to either make to feel like having these emotions or feeling these emotions are bad, or there's only a time limit on it. All right, you've been mad for 5 minutes, get over it. And I thought, and I could see so many light bulbs going off when she said that. So, and I love that you said courage, but I want to go back. You said your single dad raised 4 girls.
Mhm. Raised 4 girls, and my sisters are so much older than me. Like my nieces and nephews, we only like 4 and 5 years apart.
Wow.
So it was a big
So-
gap between his girls too.
Being raised by a guy, and I know this is not part of the question, but being raised by a guy, did he teach you resilience, or was it more stuff, along the lines of just being tough? Or did he actually say, got to work on your mindset? Because, guys don't like to really show emotions, but like, did he ever teach you to tap into your emotions and be able to control them so that way you can get through in that mindset process? Or was it just, we got to keep, not my earring off, we got to keep it moving?
Well, he didn't really teach it to me because he was very protective of me.
Mm.
So what happened, I had to learn resilience from many disappointments. Like growing up without a mom, my mom was schizophrenic, and she was, mentally, unable to raise a little girl. So I went through a lot of challenges of not being able to go to a mother-daughter dance, or not having my mom to comb my hair, or not having my mom to teach me about my cycle and things like that. And so it caused a lot of disappointments for me. And so I had to learn how to be resilient, to not be upset and depressed and angry. So it was really something that I learned throughout, my life of having disappointments and having to know how to bounce back.
Wow. Like, I never knew that. Wow. Like, that just shows even how much more strength, like, knowing that, with your mom and not having her there, and then having your father only, and having to somehow connect. And wow, man, like, I knew you was resilient, but I didn't know, like, to that level. Geez, somebody said, my God, how you turned out powerful. Look at there.
Thank you.
So Ashley, what is something that you can share with us that you do or have done, or that you use, or a skill, or something? I mean, we know you can sing, so we're singing. But no, like, for real, what is it, something that you can let us know that you do to make sure you keep yourself together when all hell is breaking loose?
Wow, that's very powerful. So, as it says, in all we do, we have to get an understanding. It's very important to truly understand that God's grace is sufficient. Throughout my life, there's been a lot of labels, a lot of statistics, a lot of things that have been placed on me. And it really boils down to having that strong mindset training. Like, you have to be in tune. There is no way that you can think a negative and a positive at the same time. So throughout everything I've been through, one of the things that has been so beneficial to understand that anytime a bad thought comes into my head, whether it's doubt, fear, misunderstandings, but God, trust Jesus, the blood of Jesus, like really not letting that doubt set in is so important. When I was laying in that hospital bed, it was never a thought of, what if I don't walk out of here again? Or what if it happens like last time? It was a more of, man, when I get out, this is what's going to happen. Okay, Lord, okay, after this testimony is going to help the next person. Last time I kept it to myself, and that's what was hard. This time the Lord allowed me to let the world see it, and through that, it wasn't just me. Sometimes we feel like, why me? But not everything that we go through is for us. When people say, man, I can't believe that happened to you, it's like, because I believed it, that's why good things are happening to me. Because I received the anointing, God, I know no matter what I'm going through, it's getting me to something. So having that mindset training allows me to block whatever the enemy is trying to put in my head of, this is how it's going to end. You're not the Alpha, you're not the Omega. This is a part of the journey, the process. So having that strong mindset training allows any adversities just to be that something that's happening to get me to where I need to go.
I love it. So when I wrote this question, I knew all 4 of you all had went through a process of losing something. We know that Dr. Monet said she lost her parents. We know that Keisha lost her son. We know that Simone lost both of her parents. And I'm pretty sure there's many losses, but you've had losses. But I want to talk about a physical loss. And can you, your physical loss, like you actually lost your sight. So for people who see, you wake up one day and it's like, you no longer can see. How do you reframe your mind? Because if I'm being honest, if I can see, I'm one day I'm fine driving around, I can see all the colors of trees, I can see everything. And then next thing I know, I can't see, I am going to go into a full panic mode. Like I am going to go into freak out mode. So how in that moment, I know you shared a little bit with us this past weekend, but how in that moment are you able to shift your mind from, oh my gosh, I can no longer see, like, to, all right, I got to get resilient through this. I got to take this and shift my mind in this moment. What in the world did you do?
My God, I just thinking back to that moment when I lost my vision, it was in 2013. And, it was one of those things where when you don't see things coming, it's hard to make that shift. I initially, I'm trying to get second opinions from doctors. I'm trying to, Google. I'm anything at this point. I'm patiently waiting. When they say you walk by faith and not by sight, all I could see in my mind is, will I be able to see my children's face growing up? Like, how will I know what they look like? It was not a matter of me. It was what I wanted to see in my kids. You hear the reports coming back from the doctors of, oh, you'll never see again, or you won't get your vision. Now, mind y'all, just to clarify, it's only in my left eye. It's in my left eye, right? But they say, when you lose your hearing, you lose your vision, other things get stronger and things like that. So even though I lost one eyesight, my right is still just fine. So I had to begin to rely on the tools and resources that I already have, the sense of knowing. It's nothing more uncomfortable than being in the passenger seat of your own car. It is so stressful waiting for someone to have to come and pick you up, especially when you have working feet. My hands work fine. Like the only thing that's bothering me is this one little eye that I don't have vision in. Lord, make me strong in areas that I didn't know that I was even strong in. Lord, give me the strength to pick up my mat and walk. Lord, don't allow me to make excuses for myself. Don't let me trust the doctors and what they're saying. Lord, if it's meant for me to see, I will see in your time, not my time. So now when I'm doing things, people say, well, I didn't know that you had that. I didn't know this was going on, and it's not my place to tell them. It's for me to keep it pushing. I let them know, if you're on the left side of me, I can't see you over there. So I have to teach people how to, work with me, because sometimes when people don't understand, they try to put stuff on you to kind of make it a little harder. You know what I mean? But you have to begin to take what you have. You learn to work with it, and then you learn to teach others how to work with you with it. I may be a little disabled, but I'm not incapable,
All right.
and that allows me
Say that.
strong.
And I can only imagine too, you were like, all right, because like sometimes, because like I wear glasses, and I know that, when they say like, if you go out wearing your glasses, that's putting a strain on your eye and it can make your eyesight worse. You probably like, okay, I've lost one eye. My other eye is having to work so much harder. Is it going to get weaker because it's straining? And so I can only imagine. And somebody in the comments said that they went through what you went through and they had to tell themselves the same thing too. So man, y'all are resonating with so many people. Now, I'm going to start with Dr. Monet on this one, and then I'll work my way around. So the next question that I have for you all is being resilient, and I don't want to say easy, but is being resilient something that it comes easy? Is it something where, in your opinion, is it something where you got to go through hell to be able to really figure out resilience? Or is it something where it's like, you don't have to go through hell. It's just something like, you could be faced with different things. And then the other part of that question is, is it something where your resilience level is the same every time? Or is it like, okay, I could be resilient today, tomorrow I may be more resilient, or I may not even be resilient at all? Is it something that is kind of like a roller coaster? So is it easy? Is it something learned? And is it something that's consistent? Like if I get faced with a challenge today, it's going to be like it was my challenge 2 years ago or yesterday or tomorrow. Is that the same thing? Or is it like you could get hit with a challenge and you could face it and go through it and boom, you're good and you're adjusting, and then you get hit with something else and boom, you know what to do? Or is it where you get hit with something and it just takes you out and it's just like you forget what it is to be resilient, and then you kind of remind yourself and then you get hit with something else, and like how does this whole thing works? Because I know some people are sitting here thinking, I don't even know if I could be resilient. So kind of let them know, like, is it something easy? And is it always the same when you get hit with stuff? So Dr. Monet, I'm gonna start with you.
Being resilient is definitely like having a unicorn moment. Like it's very rare depending on what you're dealing with. Like I've known times that I've had to be extremely resilient, and I've known times that I have not. So for example, when I went through all my hardships and I had to become the head of the household, well, because I had accountability partners, which was my children, I had to be resilient because whatever I went through, you know how we have self-pity and all that type of stuff, and it prevents us from moving forward. But then when you have other people depending on you, it gives you a different kind of strength. You're like, I can go through this, but they don't deserve to go through this. So I'm gonna be resilient because they're holding me accountable. But then we using the example of, losing a body part or it's going through something. It's funny that we use the eyesight. So like me, my left eye, I've had laser surgery. I wear trifocals in my left eye. My right eye is 20/20 and this one is 20/40. And now last week I was getting ready to do stem cell treatment where they were going to actually inject stem cells. Stem cells is the new thing now. And when it was time, I wasn't so resilient. So I backed back like, oh my God, they said they're going to have to close my eye and keep it closed, tape it down. And like, I wasn't ready for that yet. I didn't have the resilience at that time or the courage or any of that, But again, just listening to Coach Ashley, and Coach Ashley, I adore you. You know what I'm saying? Your energy, your drive, like your resilience, your courage, like it gives me a whole nother level of resilience, like honestly, so just hearing that, that's why y'all, we need a community, y'all. We gotta have a community like this to keep us pushing. But now just listening or having this call make me say, you know what, I gotta be more resilient. So definitely having resilience is a unicorn moment. I would definitely say that. It depends on what you're dealing with.
And who knew you were going through that?
Right.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Wow. Really? And you will never know it with everything that you're doing, everything that you're accomplishing, going like somebody going through what you're going through is sitting at home in their bed right now saying, I can't get out of this bed. I got to go through this surgery. I can't really see. One eye okay, one eye. Lord, why me? And look at everything that you're accomplishing right now. Oh my gosh, would have never known it. And thank you for sharing it. People in the comments are saying the transparency of you ladies' story. They truly appreciate that. Somebody said, woo, Jesus. I understand. I mean, wow. Somebody said you're beautiful. So thank you. Simone. So is it easy? Is it something like, and I know Dr. Monet was like, nah, sometimes I got it. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, not today. And does it come easy?
I think I kind of touched on that earlier when I said, to me, it's just coming out the other end of the storm, whether you come out standing up high, looking like you're a champion, or you come out crawling like you on your last leg. And physically, this year has been trying for me. I hurt my leg. I'm still having issues with my leg. I got bit by a King Corso, which is a huge dog. If you know anything like that, it's like a bigger pit bull. So yeah,
That's not a big pit bull. That's a bear. That's a bear. That dog is probably, I mean, can just sit on you when you disappear. That's not a big pit bull. That's a monster. That's a
so I got bit like not even 2 weeks after I got my brace off my leg. So I was just like very, very defeated. One thing after another. I hadn't been able to get out the house with my leg. And if you know me, I like to travel. I haven't been able to go nowhere, y'all. Except for to a Nova event. But sometimes it's just sitting there, and again, the tool I spoke on earlier, prayer, and God providing, you know, what you don't even know when you don't even know what you need. I kind of spoke on it at Women to Win that, you know, since I've been hurt, not really having anyone close, immediately family to pick up the pieces when, you know, you got to go to the doctor, you can't walk, your dominant hands messed up, like you're just a mess. So, you know, when you need help, really, and you don't know who to call on, it was just close friends, even friends that I hadn't heard from in over 10 or 15 years, just called me and out of the blue. And next thing I know, they showing up every week, taking out my trash, picking up groceries, with asking for nothing in exchange. But that wasn't me. I didn't ask for it. That I prayed to God and God provided. So again, I used the tool. And I wasn't coming out like a champion after that dog bite. I was barely I was barely crawling. So resilience doesn't always look the same, and resilience sometimes is just getting the help you need to get through the storm.
So let me ask you a question. I know, you know, one of the things of resilience is making sure you have a strong support system. They say that's key, and you kind of touched on that. So when it comes to having that support system or being resilient, one of the things is asking for help. Is asking for help, like, because you're an only child, like literally your mom passed and you had to become a homeowner, you're like within the month, your dad passed, you had to take over his business within the month. So being an only child and everything kind of happening like that, is it easy to ask for help from your support system? Even though it's important to have one, is it easy to ask for help?
I don't really have a support system. So to me, it's hard to ask for help because I'm asking people that, like, you not traditionally probably wouldn't ask for help from, or you wouldn't expect certain type of help from, you know, just like a family friend, or, you know, not people that have the same blood running through their veins as you. So, but it's definitely not easy to ask for help, but God has put me in a position to have to ask for help, because I also spoke on that at Women to Win that, you know, you can't do anything, you can't do everything alone. And so God had put me in a position where I'm not afraid to ask for help if I need help. It took me a point to get there, but sometimes resilience is just being strong enough to know you can't do it alone and asking for help.
I'm glad you said that. And I think some people needed to hear that as well. Thank you. And Keisha, what about you? Like, is it easy? And is it, yep, I got hit with this one, I know what to do, I can keep moving? Or is like, yeah, like everybody else is saying, it's
I want to piggyback off of what Dr. Monet said. You know, it is a unicorn moment, and it's a test of your faith. He's not going to put more in you than you can bear. That's first and foremost. And through prayer and having God by your side, and definitely having that support system, you can get through anything. But it's definitely a test of faith. You know, when my dad got shot and he lost his ability to walk, right? You know, when my mom's mother passed away with cervical cancer, and we found out 8 months prior to her passing away. Me taking care of her last 8 months of her life and watching her, you know, lose 50 pounds, you know, because of cancer. Me walking into that hospice center and her waiting on me to give her a kiss so she could say goodbye to me. You know, it was just my test of faith. That's what it was. But he knew that I could bear it, because he's not going to put more on you than you can bear. He's not going to do that. That's one thing about God, because once you put all your faith in him, you can get through anything. You can get through anything. If you just trust him and let him lead you and guide you, you can get through anything. So like Dr. Monet said, it's a unicorn moment. It just depends on what it is. But always remember, if he didn't think you can bear it, he wouldn't have put you through it.
Yeah. I didn't know that about you either. I mean, I knew about your son, but I didn't know. If anybody watching tonight's live, any of the ones we've done this past Wednesday, this just goes to show you that there are people in this world who are getting hit after hit after hit after hit, but they understand that they gotta get back up, because not only are people depending on them, but they're dependent on themselves. And so I hope that you are able to see this. And somebody put in the comments earlier, I no longer have an excuse. And I just hope that people who are watching this can see and understand that, like so many of us, we feel like maybe we're the only ones going through it. And I hope that this is showing, you know, men and women that, you know, you may be faced with hell, but you got to be able to go through the hell. And on the other side of it, it is just something that you can see how much stronger you are. You can see how much faith you had, not only in God, but also in yourself, because you got to believe that you can get through it. And this just shows that getting hit after hit after hit, y'all could have been broken a long time ago. You know, and look where y'all are now. And I hope that everybody is seeing this. Like, you gotta, and I know I started with hope. You gotta have hope. You gotta give yourself grace. You gotta persevere through it, and you gotta be resilient. I didn't know that, Keisha. And I mean, and we don't know, you know, what people go through. Like, but look how successful you are, and not just financially successful, but like emotionally and spiritually, and just successful, happy wise. And like, you know, life is hard. You feel alone. You feel like, you know, damn, like one more thing, but you're here. And like you said, you got to wake up with a purpose. And I mean, I commend y'all, like, because of how y'all, like, I know I said y'all bosses out here. I mean, but this just goes to see, like, y'all really like bossing, because there's a lot of things that y'all shared tonight that some of us may not have known, but there's a lot of things that y'all share with us that would have took out the average person that cannot control their thoughts. Like, they would have just laid down and gave up and been like, okay, me too. But you understand that there is something more out here that you are supposed to be doing or continuing on doing. And I just commend all of y'all, because I mean, I'm learning myself of some of the things that y'all are going through. So I want to read this quote, and I want you to tell me your take on it. It says, resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You can fight it. You can do nothing but scream about what you've lost, or you can accept that and try to put together something that's good. So I'm going to say that again. Resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You can fight it. You can do nothing but scream about what you lost, or you can accept that and try to put together something that's good. Do you agree or disagree with that quote? And I'll go Ashley, Dr. Monet, Keisha, and Simone. Do you agree with that, Ashley?
Yes, I totally agree with that. You know, it definitely goes back to that belief system that I was speaking about earlier. You know, we have to understand truly that that setback is that setup for that greatness, that breakthrough moment that you need. that resilient person that you are doesn't come from everything being perfect. It's from you getting up in moments that you didn't even know that you went down. You know, you have to be able to keep getting up. When they say, you know, you survived 100% of your worst days, what do you believe? Do you believe that you're down without purpose? I tell you, when I got up at that hospital, I was not a homeowner, but when I went back to my environment, when I looked around and I said, this is what I would have left my kids if I wouldn't have been able to physically take care of myself, it wasn't enough. If I went to the hospital in July 2021, by October 2021, I had bought that house. By 2021, October, I had got that degree. By 2021, the end of October, I did have that new car. It was things that I was laying up in that hospital bed where I thought I had everything under control. And God said, baby, I got to break you down, sit you down so that I can build you up. So that is definitely, when we think about resilient, taking what you have and where you are and being better, that is truly what that means.
Look, all right, we can end it. You just wrapped it up. Dr. Monet, can you add to that?
I definitely agree with that statement. When you said you have to deal with your new reality. Because again, I've always been an introvert. And so my reality was to be a housewife, to stay at home and take care of my kids and my family and nurture, you know, my creation and my foundation. But I never would have thought that my hardship of losing my parents and my husband going to prison and things like that would have led me to my purpose. You know, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was, better yet, being an entrepreneur or going from zero, being on food stamps, to actually building $1 million empire. You know, I always called myself a faith-made millionaire because I had to keep pushing despite of what life was giving me or what cards that I was dealt, you know. So, I mean, it's your life is in your hands. You have to create your reality based on, you know, what you've been through or what you've lost. And then even with me losing parents, yes, I lost my biological parents, but my spiritual parents love me almost like I'm theirs. You know what I'm saying? So I recreated my reality. I didn't sit and soak in, you know, my hardship and things like that. Like I persevered, you know, and became resilient and pushed through and created my own, you know, my own world, you know. So I definitely agree with that statement.
Did y'all hear that? She said she went from being on food stamps to being her own empire. You better do it. You better do it. Don't let this stop you. Keisha, you agree?
I definitely agree. To be honest with you, you're talking to someone where 6 years ago, me working in corporate America, making that I thought was a good salary, but still living check to check. I was looking like something, but my bank account was in a negative. A lot of people don't like to admit that, so I'm gonna be transparent tonight. And then you go from asking God to give you something else because you know this isn't your purpose, and Him giving it to you, right? Him giving you what you prayed for, and then what you prayed for in the interim, my son's life was taken away, right? So now you prayed for something. He's changed your whole life. Within 6 months, was able to walk away from my job, earn 6 figures just that quick, because I had a purpose and I was obedient, and so He blessed me. And then in the interim, my son's life is taken away. So it's like I took 10 steps forwards to take 30 steps back. But guess what? I had to keep going because I knew it was bigger than me. I couldn't question Him because he had a plan the whole time. So yes, I definitely agree with what these ladies are saying. I prayed for something. He gave it to me. And then tragedy happened. But I had to keep going. And that's what we all got to do. We got to keep going. We can't stop, because our purpose in life is to what? Go out there and help somebody else that needs you. That's what it's all about.
Like, you can't, but like just people listening, can you imagine working a corporate job and you liked it at first, right?
15 years as the HR director.
And you were living paycheck to paycheck, and you're like, all right, I gotta, do something different. And I look like I'm doing this, but I gotta do something different. And so imagine living paycheck to paycheck. You're probably already stressed. Then you kind of starting to progress forward. And then your only child, if I'm not mistaken, is taken from you. So you're like, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was struggling. I'm starting to progress. And now I've, like you said, you got knocked way back. That's a hit and a blow that people don't ever want to imagine. And you had to, in that moment, sit in it, understand what needs to be done, your mission, your purpose. You had to use that to propel you forward. And can you imagine if you would have said no? Have you ever thought about, like, if you would have said no, God?
To be honest with you, I'm afraid to tell him no. How about that? I'm afraid to tell him no, because when I fully put all my faith in him, my life began to turn around tremendously. So I can't go back. I'm on assignment. And this is something that I know. So I got to keep going. And that's why, he has blessed me tremendously and given me the ability to bless other people. Share the information. Go out there and help another mother that's struggling. Go out there and pour into another business owner. Go out there and help another young child that's struggling, that's, going astray from home. Go out there and basically just help my community, because they need it. They need it. I'm on an assignment and I'm ready for it.
Oh, that last part. You ready for it? Wow, that's powerful, Keisha. Simone, you agree?
I definitely agree. I believe the ladies pretty much touched on most of the things I was going to say, but I think the key word that was used is acceptance. And you can't accept until you accept whatever the situation is that you're going through, whatever your reality is. If you can't accept it, that accepting it is the first step towards being resilient. You can't be resilient if you can't accept your reality of whatever is going on at the time. So I definitely believe resilience starts with acceptance, and I agree with the statement.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end this up, and we'll work our way backwards. I'll stay on you, Simone. One last question. Can you tell me something positive that you learned about yourself from your past challenges, your past setbacks, even a mistake, a loss? Can you tell me something positive that you learned about yourself, being able to be resilient and get through those hard times?
Well, this is something I also share at Women That Win, but one thing I learned is that almost everything is figure outable. And I know that's not a word. If you're taking notes, yeah, it's not in the dictionary. Everything, but everything is pretty much figure outable. Between Google and God, it's figure outable.
I love it. Keisha?
We talked about it in the conference as well. I learned to, something positive, giving myself grace. I have to give myself grace. That's something that I learned.
Love it. And we talked about grace on our other call. Sometimes it's hard to give it because we are so hard on ourselves. And yes, Dr. Monet.
Because my life has been so serious since I was a teenager. Like, I was raising kids as a teenager. So it gave me a really, really serious life and a lot of responsibilities. So it's something that I learned recently. It's okay to celebrate me. That you got to celebrate yourself. That's what helped keep you pushing it through.
Right. That's what's gonna keep that smile on your face too. That's right.
Right.
Ashley.
All right, listen, Jesus paid it all, okay, and all to him I owe. Nobody's gonna come and save me, and what I love is that I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me, and that is what has been so powerful in those moments where I was waiting for somebody to come and get me out the bed, when my father was killed, to help me with these kids. I don't know what they daddies is doing, why they don't love me, and why they get me pregnant and leave me, and how I'm gonna pay these bills. Listen, I trust God in all that I do. I lead to his understanding and not my own. And what I love about myself and all that I've been through, I'm still here and I'm still trusting God, finding the joy in life.
Oh, finding the joy in life. Wow.
Yeah.
So I know you probably have all touched on it, but if there's one thing that you could say about resilience, just for somebody that's listening, or what it means to you, can you share that one thing, that person that's listening that's just like, they're struggling with the fact of even realizing if they even have resilience or whatever. Is there one thing about when you hear the word resilience, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I'll start with Ashley.
If you're in a moment that you can't do it by yourself, get some help, whether that's a friend, a family, a therapist, or something. Resilience is about bouncing back. And if you cannot do it, and you know what that feels like, that you cannot do it, get some help. And don't ever say there is nobody that cannot help you. You can find somebody that can help you get out that rut. You just have to really be open, transparent, and ready to receive.
Thank you. Dr. Monet, when you hear the word resilience, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, or even just one thing you want to say about resilience as somebody's listening?
Every time I hear the word resilience, I think about bouncing back. You have to be able to bounce back. Or what we always hear, what don't kill you will make you stronger. So like Keisha said, God won't put more on you than you can bear. So if you have that second and third chance, you have to bounce back.
Gotta bounce back. Thank you. Simone?
So I want everybody to do something really, really quickly. Wherever you're at, as long as you're not driving, raise your hand as high as you can. As high as you can. Raise it a little higher. If you rose it as high as you can, how come you could raise it a little higher? Everything that you need is already within you. We talked about that at the conference. Even when you think you've already given all that you've got in you, God put a little more in there that you just don't know about.
Mm.
That's all I have to say.
Simone, I might have to steal that activity. I may have to steal that.
You can.
Right.
I stole it. I forgot who I stole it from.
Hey, look, Keisha, I'm gonna end with you. So the next time you have your meeting, I'm gonna need y'all to steal Simone. That was good. Because you like reach it as high as you can. I'm like, okay. You was like reach it a little bit higher. I was like, okay. Oh, I'm stealing that. I like that. Keisha, what about you? When you hear the word resilience, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, or what is something that you want everybody to know about it?
Resilience, to me, what comes to mind is from tragedy to triumph. From tragedy to triumph, and just turning your pain into purpose and stand on it. That's it.
Tragedy to triumph and stand on it. I want to thank you all so very much for joining me. I know looking through these comments, y'all have definitely touched so many people, and the comments are showing it. And one of the comments over here on the Zoom, one lady said that she thanks Diamond. I'm trying to scroll back up. she thanked Diamond for telling her to get on here. She said, I'm going through something personal right now, and I needed to hear this. And somebody above here said, I was meant to be here with you group of ladies tonight to show me it can be done. So no more excuses for myself. Thank you, ladies. And I think that through sharing how you have been able, like you said, Keisha, to triumph over all of these trials and be able to stand in, to keep reaching higher, like you said, Simone, having the courage to go through and celebrate yourself, Dr. Monet. And actually, regardless of what you're going through, you got to keep the belief. And I think that sums it all up. And I think you ladies did an amazing job. And I wanted to say thank you so much for being transparent. And I wanted to thank you for sharing things that you may not have ever shared, or maybe you have shared it, but maybe just not as much. And that just shows the connection that we have across the board. You know, you've all lost something, and you know, Dr. Monet and Ashley had the connection with the things that you're going through with your eyesight. And there's people in the comments that said, hey, yeah, I went through the same thing too. People may have never known that. But the reason why I chose hope and grace and perseverance and resilience as our topics for each of these Wednesdays is because these are the different tools that we're going to need to be able to go through life. Life is not going to be easy. Life is not going to be something that we breeze through. Life is not going to be something where, you know, you're going to be able to just say, you know, you get up and you just, you know, skirt through and things are given to you, and you got to work for things. Your faith is going to be tested. You can't have a testimony without a test. Like, life is going to be able to throw things at you, but through it all, if you have enough hope, if you have enough resilience, if you have enough perseverance, if you have enough grace to give yourself to go through these different things, you're going to be able to realize that I made it through. And then somebody's going to come to you and say, this is what I'm going through. And you are going to understand and have those tools because you went through it. You know the hurt, you know the pain, you know the disappointment, you know the struggle, but you also know the happiness that has come out of it. You know the growth that has come out of it. You know how to go from one side to the other side. And there's a quote that I said at the Women that Win, and it was that, you know, our mind will always choose a comfortable hell over an unfamiliar heaven. And because you have been able to grow and go, not just go, but grow through that hell, you understand that on the other side of that hell that you're going through, there has got to be some type of peace. There's got to be some type of heaven, but you just got to keep going through it. And I had some more things that I wanted to share with you, but there's one thing that I wanted to share, and we'll end with this and we'll wrap it up because I know it's well past 9 o'clock. I was looking on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. And there's this thing that came up on the screen, and it said that there are so many different things you can do to build your resilience. Like, you got to be able to embrace change. You got to be able to focus on what you can control. That right there is hard for me because I try to control everything because I want to be able to fix it, but you can't. You got to focus on what you can control. You got to be able to keep things in perspective. You got to be able to not always dwell on the negative and stop dwelling on negative thinking. You got to be able to take the action. I think that's what a lot of people stop at, on taking the action. You got to be able to manage your healthy emotions, remain hopeful, practice gratitude, which is huge, set your goals. There's so many things that they listed, but this was something that stood out to me the most, and I wanted to share it with every one of you. It says you can rewire your brain to be more happy, think more positive, be more resilient, and also growth focused by simply recalling 3 things that you are grateful for every day for 21 days. So if that can help you to rewire your brain, and if Keisha didn't hit on it when she was starting to go forward, stuff gonna come at you. That's part of the testing of it. But I want to charge everybody that's listening on here for 21 days straight. Recall 3 things that you are grateful for every day for 21 days straight. So we can build up our brain muscle, because our brains are wired to go to the negative first. Why? Because that's easier. That's the easiest thing to go to. So we got to be able to exercise our brain, exercise that muscle that's up there, and begin the rewiring process so that we can go through any hell that we are faced with. So I charge every person for 21 days to recall 3 things that you are grateful for. Write it down, put it on a sticky note, put it in your phone, but recalling it is not just saying it. I need you to see it, because then you're making a list of things that you are grateful for each and every day. So when life hits you and you're just like, oh my God, all hell is breaking loose and I just don't know what to do, look at your list. Because in the midst of everything that you're going through, there is always something that you can figure out to be grateful for and focus on that. So that way you're able to push through whatever it is that you're going through. Because like these ladies said, it is so much more than what you are going through. You may have kids looking at you. You may have your team looking at you. You may have people that you are dependent upon to make sure your mind is together so that way you can operate your business, because they're dependent upon you, making sure your business is successful, making sure. I know Simone is in real estate. If Simone didn't get her mind right, she might lose her houses. I know Keisha is out here building a business with real estate as well, which is also, what we all deal with. We're all part of Nove. So if we didn't have our mind right to be able to go out here and make sure people are understanding finances, because we have a mission of breaking these curses of financial illiteracy. If we didn't do that, we couldn't get our mission going to be able to break these curses that are out there. You got Dr. Monet, who was out here doing taxes. Could you imagine her not having a strong mindset and doing your taxes? Come on now. You got Ashley out here coaching, getting this stuff together with help, find through her trials and tribulations with her health, and she did build her Nove business and other business she got going out. If you can rewire your brain to think positively, be resilient, what can you not accomplish? Think about it. The reason why people can't be successful, not just financially, but in all areas, we are about being financial and successful in all areas, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, health, everything. You got to be able to control your thoughts to be able to push through when times get tough. And trust me, they're going to be tough. So I just want to thank you ladies so much for coming on here and sharing it. I thank you for helping me wrap up Women's HERstory Month and these Winning Women Wednesdays. People are like, hey, we need to do these all the time. I get it. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot, but hey, who knows? But I just want you to know that you are seen, ladies, and not just for you, but for every lady that has joined me on the Wednesdays, for everybody's in the comments, you are seen, you are not alone, you are loved, you are worthy, you are amazing, and do not quit, because right when you get ready to quit, that might be the breaking point moment that you are looking for. So keep the hope. Give yourself grace, persevere through everything, and keep a resilient mindset. And I thank you all so much for joining me tonight. WomenThatWin.net is going to have the replay for all of these up on there soon. There's going to also be pictures from the Women That Win event. There's going to also be testimonies on there. So it is some things on there now, but a lot of it is coming because there's tons and tons of pictures. But if you missed the first part of this call or any of the other ones, you can go to WomenThatWin.net and see any of the replays. And thank you so much, ladies, for everything that you've said. And I know that you have been a shining light in somebody's life right now, and you were able to reignite that flame that they needed to keep it pushing. So you guys have an amazing rest of your night. And let's finish out Women HERstory Month strong. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you as well.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.